Welcome everyone to the Journeys to Inspire Pathways to Leadership, part of the Alliances project, where we aim to, I suppose, give a little bit of structure to an unstructured industry, especially from a career development standpoint. We are looking to capture content and share content of journey so far of all different levels of information security, cyber security, ITGRC execs from all over the world as we mature. And just to give our listeners and our community some affinity to what's going on in the industry, if for nothing else, peace of mind. My name is Lee Thomas. I'm the founder of the Alliances, and I'm joined today by Jared, who I met a few months ago in Cape Town. Jared, would you like to introduce yourself personally and professionally?
Well, yeah. Firstly, thank you, Lee, for having me. Like Lee mentioned, I'm down south in South Africa, Cape Town to be specific. In terms of like a little personal introduction from my standpoint. We'll start that, then we'll jump into professional. 23. I'm married to a lovely woman, and I've been in the cyber industry about a year at present, just over. I think just the other day it clocked over to year one being completed. I'm an ultra runner, so I do a lot of running in my free time. And then, from a professional standpoint, I work at a consulting firm at the moment, mainly is in the GRC space, InfoSec Advisory Group to be specific. We do a lot specific to ISO 27001, PCI, NIST, internal audits, and everything from that front. My technical title is cybersecurity team lead. It essentially means I've got a team of myself and four other people, and we conduct all the audits and assessments in those compliance spaces that I just mentioned. And recently moved into that role, really enjoying it from that front, enjoying having people surrounding myself, all keen to just excel at what they do. So I think that pretty much sums me up from a personal and professional standpoint.
In terms of the exposure that you're getting at the moment, what exactly are you impacting? If you can go into a little bit more depth, not to assume
Mm.
that the listeners know what fields you're playing in.
Mm. Oh, perfect. Yeah. So, like I mentioned, mainly GRC, so compliance, risk, everything of governance, risk, and compliance. For another acronym that we throw around in the IT industry, we're obviously very fond
Who
of them.
doesn't love an acronym, right?
Precisely. So so everything from that front. I mean, it's very much a cool. What problem do you have in that space? We'll solve it. Obviously, our bread and butter, especially for myself, does fall into ISO 27001, which
Right.
has now recently taken a switch from 2013 to the 2022 standard. That updates obviously brings us challenges, which has
Hmm.
been very interesting from that perspective. We conduct the internal audits a lot and gap assessments. That's all prior to your certification audit. It's very much a
Hmm.
final check, make sure everything's good, which I enjoy from that perspective of we aren't the stamp pass fail. We're the cool, let's chat about it. Yes, you're not necessarily fulfilling that requirement, but
Mm.
here's a way of fulfilling it. So we come in with the auditor, but a little bit of an advisory perspective as well, which I enjoy. I enjoy that helping implementation and remediation space and develop kind
Yeah.
of the business's cyber side of things, which is really interesting for myself at the moment. And I enjoy working with people definitely from that front. I think often people go, oh, you're in IT, so you just look at your laptop and you don't talk to anyone. I'm like, no, we do a fair amount of talking. Definitely there's more technical roles from that perspective, but I'm very much someone that likes being people facing and customer facing. So definitely enjoy everything from that perspective. I mean that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing at present. That's my day in day out is all the audit meetings and everything on that front.
You get quite a bit of exposure then
Mm.
across different areas of GRC, but also a different client base then. So that
Mm.
client interaction is one of the areas that you're getting quite a bit of fulfillment from at the moment. Is there anything else that you're getting? Um, it's hard, isn't it, when you're doing a job? It sometimes feels like a job, but is there anything in particular that you're really getting some fulfillment from that you want to
Mm.
possibly progress and flourish in your career moving forward?
No, definitely. I mean, yeah, what you like kind of alluded towards there on we get a portal into every bit of a
Mm,
company, or not only of a company, but just like industry as a whole. We have everything from your kind of general RT dev houses, that kind of thing, where it's very RT orientated, very like cyber, and everyone's aware of anything, any acronyms and everything. They just know them because that's the industry they they work in. But we
mm,
also like completely the other recently, like we've had companies that specifically focus on mental health, but because they deal with a lot of clients' information and all of
mm,
that, they want to be secure from that perspective. So that's a very different conversation in there because you can't just start throwing around complicated terms and this and that and just expect people to know because it's just not their area of expertise. So you've got to take a very different approach from
mm,
that. So I enjoy that and you kind of you're going along like the fulfillment line there, and I find that very fulfilling. The
mm,
converting the very technical into something everyone can understand, and that path isn't necessarily linear because it depends where this person is. If they're in
mm.
finance, it's a very different conversation to translate that. If they are
Yeah.
in HR, again, very different conversation. And just like relating that and decoding the complicated. So I really enjoyed that perspective. And like I mentioned, I'm very people orientated. So obviously, naturally, would gravitate towards that front. And yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy speaking to everyone from low level intern right in the trenches to your C-suite execs, and again, different
Hmm.
conversation all the way through, and managing that
Hmm.
whole relationship. So that's where having this internal audit and kind of consulting back or day to day has been really interesting because I'm going through it all, going, okay, cool. I can have this conversation here. I can have that conversation there. How do I translate that differently to, I mean, at the end, we're all trying to achieve the same objective of be
Mm,
secure and ensure
mm.
that everything is safe. But that
Exactly.
looks very different to different people. Your
Mm,
CFOs aren't just going to sign off on a piece of tech because it's, oh, look how cool it is. It does all this. They're like, cool, but it costs a lot of money. And I mean, in the cyber industry, every bit of tech is very expensive. So
mm,
your technical guys, you can sell them on the gadgets and this and that, but your CFO doesn't care about that. But then it's a conversation of, okay, cool, yes, it costs a lot here, but it mitigates this risk and that risk, which could potentially cause this financial implication or something
mm,
of that nature. So yeah, it's that decryption which I really enjoy, and I find a lot of fulfillment, like you said, from that space, especially like yeah, more technical is definitely where I can
mm,
see myself heading potentially in the ISO standard. More
mm,
so NIST and PCI that there are specific technical controls. So
mm,
in this role, I get to be able to see a bit of everything, which is also really cool from a working out kind of where you potentially want to move and kind of specialize into. Because now I know,
mhm,
cool, this area isn't something that I'm like, I know a little bit about it and I've seen how it works on a day to day through interviewing people. It's interesting,
mhm.
but I'm happy kind of with my foundational knowledge on it. I don't necessarily see a need to build it further. Whereas this thing over here, much cooler. Cool. Let's build on that. So there's
Got it.
definitely benefits in this kind of advisory, interviewee, auditor kind of role, which yeah, I find that very interesting and fulfilling from that perspective.
Yeah, I think it is a challenge for quite a few people in the industry because of the way that they navigate the corridors to the next levels of their career development, etc. There's as time goes on, there's always that requirement to translate what you're
Yes.
doing from a technical
Mm.
standpoint back into what the business actually needs, and that business alignment piece is critical. And for someone that at such early stages in your career to have that exposure and opportunity. I think it does bode well for you, Jared, because a lot of people really struggle with that. We're currently running a
Mm.
project out of the UK with the CISO alliances there around risk resilience and reputation, CISO and the board. Now, there's not many CISOs that actually act
Mm.
on the board or sit on the board. There's a lot of exco and risk committees, etc., that typically get reported into. But still, even at that level, you have to translate. Um,
Yes,
as human beings, people only really care about what it means for them and their
precisely.
remit,
No,
right? So
definitely. Yeah.
it's being able
Mm.
to sit in their shoes and being able not
Mm.
mislead, but to being able to interpret how they are going to um, appreciate what you're trying to achieve and how to get them on board essentially, right?
Mm.
Because the last, you're not just doing things for fun, right? The last things you want them to be is exposed through an avenue
Mm.
which you may not have highlighted correctly, in previous conversations. Who knows, right? In terms of the exposure that you've had up until now, do you see yourself sort of flourishing and carrying that through? You spoke about the maturity level of knowledge in certain areas and things like that. Are you keen to really follow that through, or are you keen to sort of become a jack of all, master of none, and get some exposure across other areas? How do you sort of see that going, or is it a constant touch point with these different areas, right? If someone's not part of the industry or doesn't have a career technically within information security or cybersecurity itself, it's interesting to see, how you potentially strategize, or
Mm.
maybe it just happens organically, right? What's your sort of thoughts on that?
So I definitely think there's a level of like organic development for sure, because everything in the cyber industry is very connected. Everything
Mm,
needs to talk to this, talk to that, just due
mm,
to the the nature of networks. It's just kind of par for the course from that
mm,
perspective. So I see it being very beneficial to understand a bit of everything, and it's why I constantly try to just ensure that my lateral my lateral knowledge is really good, so that I may not have heard of this piece here, but give me a
mm,
quick understanding of like where it works, how it implements that, and then I can go, cool, because I have all this, I can connect this into that. Now I know where it fits. So yes, I've never
hmm.
heard of it before, but I can see where it fits, where it's acting, that kind of thing. So I definitely
Yeah, yeah.
see a benefit for not going super specialized unnecessarily so, and just maintaining a constant foundation of a
Mm,
general knowledge foundation. But from that perspective as well, I do see myself potentially moving a little bit more technical. I find the problem solving nature of a technical environment very interesting, and
mm,
problem solving both from a people and a technical perspective,
mm,
and building these systems and networks and everything from that front. I'm definitely not like I spend my evenings and afternoons sitting on Hack the Box and other various red teaming websites and penetration testing and all of that, but I don't necessarily see myself making a career out of that. It's very much
mm,
not very people centric, and from that perspective, but I enjoy, like I said, the problem solving nature of that. It also allows me to gain knowledge from there in order to apply it to a customer when they're going, okay, cool, but what about this attack vector? Or what about that? I go, okay, cool. I remember that
mm,
from Wednesday evening when I was doing it myself, and how did I navigate that? And yes, I may not have extensive red teaming knowledge and I know every single possible facet, but I do have an idea from, okay, cool, this fits in here, this fits in there, and I can navigate that. So I suppose that gives me that gives the blurb on why I see a necessary or necessity to ensure that that constant foundation
yeah.
is there of knowledge. But in
Mm,
saying so, I want to push technical space, but more businesses' technical development. So ensuring that their setups are better and they are constantly maturing that, whatever that setup looks like. I mean, you say technical, like I throw out this term technical, like cool, but that could be anywhere. That could be
mm,
endpoint firewall. Like there's so many different realms to go in there, so I like knowing a bit of
mm,
everything from that perspective. I
mm,
definitely don't think I've I've had enough technical exposure to go, cool, I love firewall config, or something of I love endpoint, or something like that, where I go, cool, that's the rabbit
Yeah.
I'm chasing. I'm in, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
potentially moving towards a more technical orientated space and getting a little bit more exposure to that, the same way I've had the exposure now to a bit of everywhere in a company
Yeah.
from a cyber perspective. Now I can go, cool, that technical stuff, that intrigues me. That's quite cool. So kind of chase that rabbit a little bit, and then when it departs and goes in its many directions, as the technical world does, I can go, cool, that I like, that I don't necessarily like. Let's move a little bit more there. And I think in the industry, it's ever evolving. So while we say, oh,
Mm.
that's really cool, I really think that's like where it's at. The next bit of tech comes out and just obliterates that out the water, and we go, oh, cool. Maybe we need to think about it from this perspective. So I think constantly being agile, and look, I'm super guilty of planning 20 years in advance and wanting everything to go to plan, and I like very much, yeah, I'll throw my hand up,
Brave and
guilty as
security, mate.
charged.
That's very brave.
Yeah, for sure. But then we go, cool, spanner in the works. This problem. Oh damn. Okay, cool. Let's
Yeah.
shift. So I've tried to take a bit more of a mindset from, let's not plan. It has to be step here, step here, step here. More
Mm.
of and I use a bowling analogy quite often because it came to mind, and it's the one that seems to have stuck on the front of, when you go bowling, you throw the ball down the bowling alley, and there's gutters in the side. If you don't plan for anything,
Mm.
there's a decent chance it's going to hit those gutters, and then there's no chance that you're going to hit the pins. When
Mm.
you plan a little bit, that's when they throw those little railings up on the side. And now, yes, you're throwing down, but you've created a little bit of planning. So you're avoiding those gutters, unless you really duff it. You are avoiding those gutters. And yes, you might bounce between them, but because you've got that end goal in sight, and that what you want to achieve has been defined, no matter how
Mm.
many times you bounce, you're still heading in the right direction. So there could be an issue, anything of that nature, but you're still heading towards that end goal. So I'm trying to take that more of that approach to life in
Yeah.
general, and my career at the moment, of just
Yeah.
planning, but also planning for variables and understanding when those variables arrive, because they will. It's inevitable. That's life. That it's not the end of the
Yeah.
world. It's not suddenly your plan is finished, go to your room, lock your door, cry. Like, no, like, it's okay, cool. Little bump on the shoulder. Let's reevaluate. Am I still heading towards my end goal? Am I still prioritizing that? Cool. Yes. Then it's not a problem. Then we we just
Mhm.
we just we just keep putting away and heading in that direction.
That's an awesome analogy, mate. I love that. I think it's relatable, right? Who doesn't play 10-pin? I want to talk about certs, right? I think this
Mm.
industry, like the alliances have got has got a lot of affiliations and MOUs and partnerships with different certifications and accreditation organizations out there. There's a lot. I mean,
Mm.
it's shaping the industry, but it's arguably diluting the industry as well, right? I don't know how many certs you've obtained or what's on your agenda for the next couple of years, but is there any certs in particular that you've seen really make a difference, really be quite applicable to your abilities moving into this industry, and obviously as you're flourishing, is there anything that stood out for you then potentially has gone, yeah, that was really worthwhile? I don't want to go down the negative route of going, is there anything that have not? But yeah, is there anything that stands out? I think people get sold on a lot of these certifications, right? And potentially may not be as valuable as what they perceived, right?
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, they're also very expensive. So
Mm.
I find often people are going, okay, cool, I've only got X amount to spend at the moment. Where should I go? Because that X amount, while being arguably quite a large number, is only one cert, because
Mm-hmm.
all those certifications are very
Yeah,
expensive. So I think, yeah, for myself, just kind of starting, yeah, from what I have at the moment. So yeah, a little bit of background. I never grew up particularly computer nut or anything of that. I'm not a big gamer, which is weird in the cyber industry. Most people are, because that's kind of where their love for computers and networking and everything kind of formed. I was never
Mm-hmm.
that kid, but I grew up in a cyber household. My dad's been in cyber, so I've just kind of been surrounded by the industry from that perspective. So I mean
Yeah.
that's kind of where the journey started. Then I went to university and I've got a BCom business management. I mean it's the furthest thing from tech you can you can get. Cool, come out of matric. Not 100% sure what to do, but a degree helps. So went off and and did
Yeah.
that. Got halfway through and was going, actually, you know what? Like this whole cyber thing, this techie side of life seems quite cool. And I enjoy it. Like the industry's booming, everything from that nature. That's really cool. So let's give it a go. Let's kind of see what happens. I was halfway through my degree at that point. There was no point in me switching and potentially adding a year or anything of that nature. So I was like,
Yeah.
cool, let's do some things on the side, a little bit of research. Nothing particular in terms of certifications or anything from that front. More of a let's just look around, watch some YouTube, do some free courses, just see if I dip my big toe in it, is it something that I potentially want to take another step? So yeah, I finished up my degree, then
Okay.
went through that. I decided, cool, after my little bit of research and chatting to my dad and everything, this is something that I want to go into. This would be cool. So because I didn't have that base networking knowledge, I hopped onto CompTIA. I did their Network Plus, a whole certification and exam process.
Mm-hmm.
I've obtained that. I think anyone who doesn't have that
Mm-hmm.
basic, like, yeah, very kind of lower, and I'm going to throw low level in inverted commas, because it's just, when I say low, I more mean foundational level of networking, because it carries across to so many
Mm-hmm.
areas within cyber. Again, being able to have that lateral knowledge to know where things connect in from a hardware networking
Yeah.
perspective is very, very useful. So I did that. And then through work at the moment, I did my PCB ISO 27001 implementer course. So I've got that. It's obviously very relevant
Mm-hmm. Of
to being in the certification space. I've got one or
course.
two little ones here and there
Yeah.
from like little training courses, in terms of we use a tool called Black Kite's open source intelligence scanning for vendor assessments and everything, and it's really
I
cool.
know.
So I
Yeah.
did their whole little tutorial and got a little certificate afterwards. So that was cool. I think take certs wherever you can get them, especially in that case it was free because we paid for the tool, so it came with it. So I was like, cool, I'll throw my hand up for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm all for, you know, the more certs the better, and more from a front of not, I want you to have 7 acronyms at the end of your name on LinkedIn. More from a, cool, you've got the knowledge.
Yeah.
This just verifies that. I understand that, yes, you've got a years of experience.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I'm sure you have the knowledge and everything. But unfortunately, I don't chat to you first in a job kind of process. There's that CV that hits my table, and I can see a couple certifications,
Mm-hmm.
and that just tells me, okay, cool, that verifies the knowledge that X person has. That's very, so
Yeah.
I view certifications more from that front, on a verification process of the knowledge, as opposed to it's the be all end all. I don't like that kind of front from it. I've seen a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people with many certifications that aren't necessarily as well equipped for a day to day, actually in the thick of it, than other people who have immense amount of knowledge and experience and everything from that front, but they don't have the certifications purely because it's 90% of the time it's a financial thing, because like work wasn't paying for it or something like that, and they're very
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
expensive. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's definitely that balance that you have to find. In terms of certifications, though, from like my perspective, that we're seeing a lot kind of coming into the industry, and like, coming in, but also what people are looking for is your CompTIA
Mm-hmm.
Security Plus is actually becoming very, very common to see on job like requirements in their thing, is, or like
Mm-hmm.
required certifications or wanted certifications, is your S Plus is becoming very big, and it's one that I'm planning on doing. That's probably my like next big one that I'll go for. I would recommend people go the N plus route first if they
Nice.
don't have that networking knowledge. If you've got that networking knowledge and you kind of understand that maybe you're coming from a yeah, a networking background, or you were a system admin, or something of that nature, then definitely hurdle that one, all good. Go to the Security Plus. Again, they're expensive, so be a bit picky. So if you've got that base foundation, good to go. But then there's the aspect of, I wouldn't say just jump in it because you want to fast track your development, even though you've got zero networking knowledge. You're going to spend a lot of time having to or learn that knowledge in order to progress further from that front. And I'd recommend rather starting off on that foundational standpoint there. I know latest trend in the industry, everyone wants to be a pen tester because everyone wants to be a hacker. It's the latest and greatest for sure. And I mean, I love it. It is very interesting and very cool. But unfortunately, not everyone can be. We need people in other areas. But I also think people often see that as their foot in the door from that perspective. And definitely, because it's a fairly straightforward path in that sense. And I say straightforward loosely because there's no real straightforward path into cyber. I mean, I got a BCom. Like there's no definite path into cyber. So from that front, though, I think people view it as a straightforward kind of path, because you can go cool CompTIA Pen Test Plus, or you go the big one is your OSCP, which it is kind of the gold standard from a pen testing perspective, but it's also like 30,000 Rand, which I know you sitting up in Europe land, when you convert it to euros and pounds, it's a little bit better, but it's still a lot of money.
But still, isn't it? Any spend has to be justified, doesn't it? And that's the reality, and it's not. It's. I mean, what price do you put on your own development? It's difficult to put it on there, But I think what I've taken from what you're saying there is certifications become a necessity rather than just doing them. I think there's huge appetite to bolster that CV, and everyone wants to be on that higher ticket and earning more and more and more. And sometimes it's important to be recognized by a HR department on what they recognize as competency, right? And certifications are a tangible way of doing that, But I like how you've so far I've sort of applied yourself to the certifications that are required to fulfill your role.
Yes, it's very much that front. It's not just rack up certifications for the sake of them. Again, they are expensive, so you got to get a bit picky. So where do you want to go? Chat to someone in that industry, chat to what they're seeing coming out. And even if it's a random cold message on LinkedIn, like do it enough, you'll get a reply. So there's that perspective. So you kind of see what the industry standard is, and then go on that route. Definitely, for sure. I think there is an element, like you said, HRC's X certification as a competency, and that's definitely a factor. I don't think you could do it without certifications. It's definitely something that is needed. That's kind of without a doubt. I don't see that not being like you coming from absolute blank. And yes, I'm a big believer in you can learn anything off Google and YouTube. So you can do that, but again, it's the verification of that, because you can tell me that, but that assumes we're getting to the interview stage.
Prove it.
If you're not getting to that,
exactly.
you got to get to that. So that's the tough one, and often see that being the case of people coming, well, I don't know what to do because I don't know what the industry standard is. Ask, like I said, just email someone, find a LinkedIn, do anything of that nature. Even if you just go onto LinkedIn, look at the jobs, look at what their requirements are of the jobs that you want, and then go, cool, how do I fill as many of those requirements, obviously within budget and everything from that perspective. And that's very much your stepping stones. It's a very simple kind of way of going, cool, if I can tick said boxes, then at least I can apply and I can have a good shot at it. So I think that would definitely be my kind of recommendation number one. If you don't want to chat to anyone or anything of that nature, you don't need to. It's a fairly easy process from that perspective. And then if work's going to pay for any certifications once you do have a job, milk it. Absolutely milk it, because they get the tax write-off and it's brilliant. So win-win from that perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's a
and
win-win, isn't it?
invest in
It's a
yourself
win-win.
like you need to.
No, thanks, mate, for that.
Hmm.
That's great. What would you like to see from leaders in the industry to help your career flourish, right? And I think one thing I want to highlight here, especially as I've interviewed some of the leaders in the industry, if you like, is that who do you define and what sort of
Hmm.
role do you define as the end goal for yourself, right? Because your mantle will be different to whatever everyone else is, right? It's assumed that it's a CISO. It could be the reporting lines of the CISO as well in terms of where you want to go, or it could be completely different, So before you answer what they could do more, maybe define who the leaders in the industry are for you,
Hmm.
possibly from a job title standpoint or person. It's up
No,
to you.
definitely. Yeah, I have been quite fortunate to have engagement with like leaders within the industry and people potentially on that top kind of platform, both through CISO alliances and like friends and mentors and that kind of thing, and being able to have that open line of communication that I know isn't the norm from that perspective. So for me, kind of that end goal,
Mm.
I'll say end goal in inverted commas again. We talk about the railings. I
Yeah.
have an idea, but like we gotta be able to plan for that. So yeah, plan for deviations. So for myself, CISO, I mean it's got a nice ring to it. Like that's pretty cool. And but I like the application of it. I don't really care about titles or anything from that front. Like it's cool and it's nice and it
Mm.
looks nice on LinkedIn and a CV and all of that. And look, make your title look nice. It's cool. Like I said, looks nice on a CV if you're applying anywhere else and anything from that perspective. But I
Yeah.
enjoy having chatted to a few CISOs. I enjoy the kind of day-to-day business development, driving the company in a certain direction, and that kind of level. I enjoy that, and still being in the
Mm.
trenches to a certain degree, but equipping the people that are actively in the trenches within your company and allowing them to flourish. And I really enjoy that kind of perspective and building a cyber team out and everything on that nature. So that's where, having chatted to CISOs, I kind of defined that role without the title in my head, and then chatted to CISOs and was like, okay, cool, this
Yeah. Yeah.
matches up. So that's kind of what I'm going for. And
Mm.
that front. Then I've chatted also to some founders of companies and owners and that kind of thing on smaller companies that
Hmm.
kind of do that CISO role because they don't have enough people to have an official C-suite and everything of that nature. And I really enjoy that. And I think that's where my
Hmm.
my like BCom kicks in a little bit of of kind of business as a whole, but from a cyber perspective. So I think that's
Yeah.
really cool. And I can definitely see myself, if not CISO, maybe my own thing slash with a partner slash equity, whatever that looks like. But as long as it looks like business, driving business development as a whole, with a cyber perspective to it, obviously being the industry that I'm in and passionate about.
Hmm.
So it's more that front than a specific, I want to be X title. I don't think, I mean, I could start a company tomorrow and slap myself with CISO and yay, goal achieved. Like that's not necessarily where, like,
Yeah.
again, that like titles aren't necessarily the be all end all for myself from that perspective.
No.
So CISO fits the mold that I've kind of, or the job description that I've created in my head. So I definitely kind of see myself from that perspective. So then jumping into the what do I want to see from the people on the top to kind of help us youngsters, coming in and building us up from that perspective. And I think kind of twofold. One is kind of put your paths out there, and I know through CISO alliances you are going through that and chatting to people that have come through this all, because there isn't a very linear path. There's no, well, now they're coming out, but like when I was at Vast and everything, there's very, very few institutions offering cybersecurity degrees. It's usually, okay, cool, you got like IT dev
Hmm.
or something of that, computer science, and then maybe you migrate to the cybersecurity world, but there's no set path. So it's very tough from like us sitting on the bottom going, cool, where do I put my next step? Because no one's really giving me an indication. So by people putting their journeys out there going, cool, I can catch some similarities there or there or there with this person. Now at least I know, cool, next step can be here or it's there, and you can kind of build that ladder. Maybe a little bit wonky, but it's still a ladder going up, which is cool. And just yeah, having that open, and then yeah, second fold was not only tell your story but talk to the people on the bottom. And like I said, I've been very fortunate to be able to talk to people. And kind of then a word of advice to the people in my position is just talk to them. They are people. They put their pants on one leg at a time. Like it's very much that perspective. Yes, they might have a cool title and everything, and obviously have that level of respect. Don't go jumping on them when they're super busy and they're dealing with an incident or anything of that nature. But if they are in a position where you can talk to them at a conference or something like that, and even if it's just a hi, I follow you on LinkedIn, really like what your company or what you do, that's cool. Just that little introduction, and maybe next time you can have further conversations. And I've had examples like that, and just kind of opening that line of communication and chat to them. They're all techies at heart, and they enjoy cyber as much as you do. Get them going on that, and you can probably find some common ground. So then the caveat to that, to the people on the top, is entertain those conversations with the youngsters. They're just interested.
Yeah.
Yes, they might be a little bit naggy in the pain sometimes, but they're just really interested. And they look up to you in those positions because they want to one day be there. And also understand that one day they will be there. You will be replaced. There is that kind of succession from there. So ensure that that succession is a good one, and that you're able to pull in someone
Mm.
underneath you and mentor and have that structure to go, cool, when I leave here, this organization that I'm at or whatever, just the industry at large is still going to be good, and it's still going to
Mhm.
thrive, and it's still going to be secure.
Mm.
And all the work I've done to get it to a certain point, this person's going to take and level it up. It's not going to be a cool, I built it up to here and I'm really hoping they just maintain that. Because unfortunately in the cyber world, we can't just
Mm.
maintain. It's not a tick box exercise, it's a continual journey. So we
Yeah.
need to constantly level up. So bring in the people to be able to level up. But they're also not just going to arrive on the scene being able to go, cool, I've got this, boom, up. You need to give them those, throw them a brick so they can build the foundation. You can't just expect them to have it. So
Yeah.
yeah, twofold there.
Yeah.
Youngsters, talk to the old people.
No,
Old
I think
people,
that's
talk to the youngsters, kind of thing. And share the journeys. I think that's very important from that perspective. No journey looks the same. It's not very linear in the cyber world at all. It's also, we say we work in cyber. I mean, that's so many different areas. Blue teaming, red teaming, there's purple teaming now. Like there's so many different facets to it. So it can be very overwhelming from someone at the bottom going, I don't know where to go. Is this the right step? Isn't it? And
mm.
it's very easy to look at the top when you've kind of made it, going, oh, well, it's easy. I know because you've been through it, and I know that this does that and this does that, and you should do this in order to do that, and that kind of thing. It's very easy to have that perspective. Whereas sitting on the bottom, I don't have that perspective.
Yeah.
I don't have a cool, I've been in here for 20, 25 years. I know every bit of the industry. I'm going, yo, do I go this way? Do I go that way? Do I go 10 other paths in between? And yeah, it's a lot from that perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. There is, and I think what potentially gets overlooked is that they
Mm.
were in the same position as what a lot of you guys are now. Even this industry, or the CISO job function, if you like, is around 20 odd years old. I've been impacting it now for about 11 years in my remit. I
Oh,
work in
definitely.
cyber as
Yeah.
well, right? But again,
Mm.
it's varied. But it varies. It varies across the board, and I think what doesn't happen enough is an
Mm.
opportunity to benchmark against each other's journeys.
Mm.
And there is no right and wrong, right? The reality is there's people in certain roles fulfilling the job function, and they're always looking, or should be looking, to replace themselves, or improve their teams, and that's not just going to happen by doing it within their own network, right? They need to be able to welcome the perspectives wider and also nurture the perspectives, right, by feeding back into it. And so many people do, but so many people don't. And I think it's because they potentially fear not, mismanaging expectations a little bit with it. Just be
Mm.
completely transparent with it. We all know that this industry is not bells and whistles, right? We know that it's not all fun and games. But there's a lot of fulfillment and there's a lot of challenges within it, and I think that's what people need to hear. Um, Again, not from a misleading standpoint, but from a transparent standpoint in terms of, the expectations on a CISO and the business division and the department.
Mm.
It's a lot, but again, if you're one of those people that really has that hero complex a little bit and wants to save the company from certain
Mm.
or mitigate certain risks, or overcome them if they breach, then
Mm.
that's the role for you.
No,
I think
definitely.
that's the reality. The
Mm.
last question I want to ask you, Jared, um, is there anyone in particular that we can tag as from the outcome of this podcast as a thank you that's helped you get to your position now, and potentially when you look back on it when you get to the 20-25 years, hopefully I'll be retired by then, maybe not, no, I'll be nearly retired, no, but when you get to the sort of 20-25 years, you look back and go, actually that person did
Mm.
give me one of those bricks to lay the foundation, right, as you mentioned, using your words there. Is there anyone that you want to sort of shout out?
Yeah, like for sure. I mean, first and foremost, probably Bevan Lane from my current boss, InfoSec Advisory, foot in the door. So I
Hmm.
mean, I had zero experience, zero this, zero that, and he took a chance. So definitely from that, will
Hmm.
forever be grateful for that, because I wouldn't be here chatting to you if that didn't take place. So super grateful for that. Furthering on to that, I suppose CISO alliances as a whole, very, very cool. Kind of opened my eyes also into the like how far you can take this, and kind of where's the, I'm going to say end goal also in inverted commas, because again there's no real end goal, but where's that
Hmm.
top, where's that, where how far we can push this kind of thing. And then touching into that, I was very fortunate to have dinner with Greg Day, who's the global CISO for Cyber Reason.
Mm.
And yeah, it was after
I know,
IT
yeah.
Web Cape Town. I met him there, and we got chatting. He
Hmm.
he was staying in town for a little while. All his colleagues had to fly out, so he was like, "Well, I'm stuck here. Jared, do you know any good places to go for dinner? I guess I got to have dinner by myself." I was like, "Oh, come, like I'll, can I join?" Kind of thing. And there's the guys. They just want to chat. So
Yeah, yeah.
so went and we chatted, and I mean we chatted everything, cyber to cars to golf to this, like a bit of everything. But having that insight, and he kind of entertained my questions on like what does a global CISO do, and everything from that perspective. And he very much developed my
Mm.
kind of idea of where I want to be, and what that goal is. And went, cool, this is a lot bigger than I potentially view it as. He's presented to like the United Nations and this and that and the next thing, and like from a military aspect as well, and and a government and like
Hmm.
global stand,
Hmm.
like that kind of thing was very interesting. So kind of for opening my horizons, definitely Greg was great for that. I think in a much more closer to home perspective, Dale Simmons from Mido Technologies and Mido Foundation. I mean, he's literally 20 minutes down the road from me. We often grab a coffee. I'll just pop into his office and see if he's there, and we'll sit and chat for an hour or two. Yeah, the Mido Foundation does a lot of. I know you guys at CISO Alliances are involved with there, but yeah, they do a lot of cybersecurity development and training and everything for people from underprivileged backgrounds. And I'm kind of throwing my hand up there for a little bit of volunteering. And I suppose my thanks there is not necessarily from a cool, he's given me a job or anything from that nature, but more thanks for just kind of giving back to the community, and also allowing me an avenue
Mm.
to give back to the community. I'm all for charity. I've grown up in a very
Yeah.
like kind of charity household, and we always help out, and kind of if you need a set of hands, I'm there. I don't need anything specific. Like from that perspective, it's a where can I help, and being able to give back but then also give back to an industry that I'm actively in, and then due to that being able to give back a little bit more because I've got a little bit of insight into that. As yeah, very 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 cool from that perspective. So kind of a thanks to him from that and allowing that avenue. And I think because I mean yeah, there's not many avenues from a cyber perspective to give back directly to the community. So that's
No, it's
especially I mean
not.
it's a community that
That's a good
literally
point.
is surrounding me. So that's very cool from that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sums up my list. And if anyone listening to this feels that they need a thank you, then this one's for you. Yeah, so just in general, there you go. It's a generalized thank you to some people. Yeah.
Every
Yes.
every touch point along the way. Eh? No, this is it, right? I think sometimes in this
Mm.
industry there's not enough recognition, right? There's loads of awards and all that sort of stuff, and I think um, there's people, on my journey with the alliances specifically, as well as the introduction with the previous company to what this industry is about. There's so many people that affect you, and inspire you
Mm.
to be better along the way. But it's nice to be able to
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I
shout
mean,
out some
but
names
also
as
that
well.
list can get so long.
Just
Oh,
a
yeah.
wry
That
smile,
list can
right?
get super long.
Yeah,
Like
it
you said, I
does.
mean, there's so
It
many touch
does.
points and so many people that can interact there. I mean, I could name 15 people at Orange Cyber Defense that I've had conversations with that have been great. I can chat like, yeah, this person, that
Yeah.
person, the next person. There's so many on that front that I think from,
Hmm.
it's so interconnected and it's weirdly a small industry. Like everyone
It
knows
is.
everyone, so you chat to everyone, which is really cool
Mhm.
from that perspective. So yeah, that generalized thank you is to all those touch points there that that I didn't single out.
Thanks to,
Yes.
thanks to the network, eh? No, this is it. It's
Mm,
community, right? That's what it's about. Hey,
mm,
it's been a pleasure to chat with you. This initiative has been born off the back of my chats with yourself
mm,
and Warren and Jabu more recently. There's an opportunity for myself with the alliances to be able to nurture the next generation and to create a platform for them to leverage and benchmark against each other and collaborate earlier in their careers rather than when they're at the top, which is where I've entered with the alliances, right? So yeah, I'm really grateful to you guys for embracing it and committing time to it when you have the time, which I know you don't have much of. But yeah, great to chat with you, mate. Thanks very much for your insight. For the listeners, I hope you found some affinity to it or sparked an opportunity for you to get involved in something like this or with us. Please do reach out if you want to do that. But I'll leave you get back to your Friday, Jared. Enjoy the
oh,
weekend, mate, and thanks
thank you.
very much
Yeah,
for the
and yeah,
time.
thanks to the listeners and everything. If you do want to reach out and chat or anything of that nature, pop me a message on LinkedIn. Very always keen to chat cyber. Yeah, and yeah, thank you, Lee, for your time. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your Friday and weekend further.